Hey everyone, thank you for joining me today and just taking the time out to watch this video. This video is going to be different than a typical podcast episode. I don't really think of it as a podcast episode. This video is strictly to set the record straight on a lot of the allegations that have been coming up, the rumors out there, and I am going to have sort of a guide that I'm going through with this because with all the amount of evidence and data that I've been sorting through and conversations I've been sorting through constantly, I don't want to mess up dates. I don't want to mess up timelines. So having it written down is just going to help me to be more accurate with those things, and hopefully I can have as few mistakes as possible. But today we're addressing some serious allegations that have been circulating about me, stemming from a story published by Arizona Republic and Robert Anglen, in which they interviewed my former executive assistant, Ashley Reynolds. The story has had an insane impact on every aspect of my life. Businesses aside, the messages and threats that my family's gotten, that my employees have received, that I've received, it's been overwhelming. Also, just seeing when people wish harm on your kids, like that's a hard thing as a dad to see, especially when my kids are ages 4, 6, and 9 years old. So it's been a rough few months, and we've gone through a lot through this, and I'm grateful for the inner circle that I do have that have been so supportive through this, that know who I am at my heart as a person and have stood by me through all of this. My employees, my clients that have stayed through all of this, I appreciate you guys like crazy. But it's come time that we have to address a lot of what's been brought up with these allegations online. And you might be asking yourself, well, why are you doing this now? Why didn't you do this sooner? There's really two answers to that. First is we had a court order in place that we weren't allowed to discuss anything that has to do with our lawsuit against Ashley. And as you would imagine, with Ashley doing this interview, there's a lot of overlap between our lawsuit and what was being said in this article that we weren't allowed to bring to light yet. The second part of it is we wanted to give Arizona Republic the chance to set the record straight themselves and do the right thing. We recently sent them a letter correcting a whole bunch of things that are in their article, to give them the record to redact and make corrections. They chose not to do it, which is another reason why we are doing this video. And we're going to show receipts, guys. Like, we have screenshots of everything I'm going to be talking about. You're going to see email correspondence. Some of these screenshots, you will see some things redacted because we're trying to protect the privacy of people that have emailed us things or people that have said things, and especially things that are coming from my own employees. I want to protect their privacy as well. So you will see some names redacted, but I assure you, all of this stuff has been given to our attorneys in the court. All of this stuff has been given to the Chandler Police Department as they pursue their criminal investigation of Ashley as well. So the main goal today is just to set the record straight with clear evidence and facts. I'm not going to try and get into the emotional side of things. I want to keep this as black and white as possible. But let's start by just going through the timeline of things here. So we're going to start at the beginning. Former employee, if you guys don't know what's going on, Ashley Reynolds, accused me of being involved in a cover-up related to a very serious incident, which is the murder of Preston Lord. And as I go through this, I don't want to take anything away from the Lord family. In a legal sense, I might be a victim here, but there's only one victim in all of this, and that's Preston Lord. And especially after reading through the police report, I cannot imagine what that family is going through right now. My heart is with you guys, and I just want to make sure that I'm not discounting what has happened to that family, to that boy in any way as I go through this. But there are some allegations from Ashley that I was involved in a cover-up of this murder, which is the most outlandish thing you could possibly say. Extremely serious allegations as well. It completely surprised us because there's no physical evidence to show any of this because it never happened in the first place. So when this article came out, like, everyone on our team was completely blown away that AZ Republic even went forward with it and published it, especially with some of the warnings that you're going to hear that they received as we go through this today. But starting with the timeline here, so Ashley was hired for my executive assistant in April of 2023. In January, our company started to experience some cultural issues that had never experienced before. If you talk to anyone on our team, I'm sure they can attest to these things and also attest to the reason behind them. But on January 19th, I started to look into our internal communication system. We use a system called Slack for all of our internal communications. And really what I want to do is just see if there's any clues as to what was causing the culture issue, because through discussions with our team, discussions with my COO, we just couldn't seem to figure it out. And leading up to doing this, Ashley had been texting both my COO and I that there were multiple people talking shit about her and I and being displeased with the company, which was all news to us because when we'd actually talk to people, we weren't hearing that. But we found out as we started to go through the system that Ashley was the one causing drama between people. She would talk bad about Kelly and I to the team members. She'd talk bad about the team members to Kelly and I. She would share like personal financial information of mine with people on the team as well. There was just a lot of shady stuff going on. And this was just like the cap of it. As soon as I looked into the system, it was interesting. I found a message from Ashley to another employee that said, "Girl, erase your Slack. Adam just told me he found a way to retrieve Slack records. It takes 24 hours though." So when I figured out that I was going to look into the communication to see what's going on within our company, Ashley was the only person I told that this was going to happen. And then her first message was to another person on our team telling them to delete all the records of their communication, which should be a red flag instantly, and was a red flag instantly that there's something more going on there. And we're going to show screenshots on the screen as we go through this of everything that we have the okay to share. Obviously, this was a red flag, so I continued to look through Slack, found that Ashley had been putting extra pay on employees' checks for personal favors. I had also found out that Ashley was trying to cause drama between employees. As I said before, she would tell us to fire certain employees based on the amount of shit talking they were doing, and then go to those employees and talk bad about our COO and myself to them. And the interesting thing was, as when we got in there and started looking at all these conversations, they were overwhelmingly one-sided, where it was Ashley just trying to instigate a whole bunch of stuff. And fortunately, our team members, for the most part, just sort of took it in stride and didn't try to buy in as much to Ashley's stuff as they definitely could have. Later that night, after I saw this, I emailed my attorney at Tiffany & Bosco, and this is all on January 19th again. And I just let them know what I had found. In addition, I found that she was sharing my personal credit card information with another employee as well. And also she was sharing each other's salary information with other employees, which she has no right to do. So they began drafting a legal letter to send to Miss Reynolds. I also stayed late on the 19th for a locksmith to show up and change the locks to the office, because after reading all of this, I had lost complete trust for Miss Reynolds. The next day on January 20th, I called Miss Reynolds and terminated her from the company. On the call, I told her that you know exactly why you are being fired. Her response was, "I only started doing all of it because I saw a text message of you and Kelly," who's my COO, "saying that you were going to fire me for missing too much time." When I asked her about how she saw the text message, she said, "I've been accessing your text messages since November." So obviously I did not give her access to my text messages. To my knowledge, the only way she could have got access to it is if she went on the computer in my office and looked up the saved passwords and then logged into iMessage on her computer. The day after Miss Reynolds was fired on the phone, she sent a text message to another employee that said, "If Adam says anything tomorrow about the $300, which is extra pay she put on this employee's paycheck, just say that number one, it was a side job, just like Kelly asked you for too, and we were just fucking around in our Slack messages. She gave me cash on payday." So she's telling her to pretty much lie about the money that was put on her paycheck and said, and tell us that Ashley paid her on the side and it wasn't through payroll, even though payroll records and the court documents clearly show it was through payroll. And then she continued to say, "Because there were many times I mentioned in Slack that I'd be Oprah and pay everybody, LOL. I said it 5 or 6 times. So not only is she acknowledging that she was fired for adding money on people's paychecks, she also is admitting to saying that she'd be like Oprah and pay everyone more money, and that she said this 5 or 6 times. This text message alone, not to mention all the other stuff we're going to share, shows that Ashley knew exactly why she was fired. It had nothing to do with anything related to the Preston Lord case. In this case, she was asking another employee to cover up her theft of funds from the company. Now, I know many of you guys think $300, that's not a crazy amount. Stick with me. Fast forward January 29th, I receive a phone call from a collection company called Altus Receivables. They told me that a line of credit was taken out against the company by Ashley Reynolds. They sent me the invoices, and it showed that Ashley used $9,863 to buy personal items for herself and her kids. These are things like Air Jordans, flat screen TVs, PS5s, clothing, beds, bed frames, toys. And my favorite of all of them is she used stolen money to buy a Bible verse canvas to put up in her home. This was done all without my knowledge or my permission. The invoices also show that all of these items were sent directly to her home address. We also have an email from Ashley that'll go on the screen acknowledging these purchases, in which she says, the account in question is my own personal account and the communication was addressed to Ashley Reynolds, indicating it pertains to a personal financial obligation. Arrangements have been made with the creditor to settle this debt. Now, let me point this out. Altus Receivables, this collection company, has confirmed with Amazon that this was a business line of credit. It was acquired using our EIN number, which is like the social security number for your business. It was not a personal line of credit. Amazon has also concluded the line of credit was opened fraudulently against the business. So these things have all been confirmed already. Okay, we have a screenshot of the letter from Altus Receivables that we're putting up on the screen right now, where you can see that this is addressed to the company. It's addressed to me. Yes, she put her name on the Amazon account, so you'll see her name on there, but is a business line of credit. We're going to show some of the invoices on the screen as well. These are pages and pages and pages of invoices that she purchased in a span of less than 5 days, $9,800 against the company. After receiving the call from Altus Receivables on the 29th, I texted Ashley the following at 1:20 p.m., which we're going to put all this on the screen as well. Ashley, I know about the theft and we have proof of everything. I also have hundreds of examples of you breaking your NDA, and I see that you're now posting about other NDA violations. So just so you guys know, for the NDA, we'll get into this more. She's not allowed to share my personal financial information. She's not allowed to share financial information about the business. She obviously had her hands in a lot of personal stuff and business things. She's not allowed to share that stuff with people outside the company. The NDA had nothing to do with the Preston Lord case. We'll get to that in a little bit. But I was calling her out about breaking the NDA because we found dozens of examples within Slack of her doing this. Continuing on with this text message. You are not a victim of anything. I know about the other Amazon account you created on your own without any permission from me. This is serious and criminal. I'm giving you one chance to give me a call before I go to the police. I will give you an hour, and even that is generous. I felt like I had the right to give her a chance to explain herself. And this was before we found out any of the other stuff I'll get into, but I wanted to at least give her that opportunity. We did not hear back from her. So an hour later, I sent her this message. Police report has been filed. You will also be receiving a letter from Tiffany and Bosco by the end of the day. All further communication should go directly to them. Okay, later that night, after receiving this text message, Ashley began posting and implying for the first time ever that there was a connection between Relentless and Preston Lord. If you look through all of our company messaging, you're not going to see anything ever of her talking about this connection. This is the first time it was ever brought up. And it was brought up after she was told that a police report had been filed and she'd be receiving a letter from our attorneys. I had multiple people send me screenshots of what she was posting on TikTok as retaliation to me for going to the police. So once I received these screenshots from different people, at 7:33 p.m. that same night, this is all on, let me go back to the date to make sure I'm correct on this. But all of these are on the same day, and this is all on January 29th. So at 7:33 that night, after I had seen these screenshots, I sent her this text message that you guys will see on the screen. You'll see that I included screenshots of what she was posting on TikTok at the time. Along with this, it said, Ashley, your cease and desist had nothing to do with the Preston Lord case. You are now committing slander. Please stop. You know you stole from the company. You got fired for potential criminal behavior. It was completely justified. Stop with the nonsense, please, so you can focus on getting a new job to provide for your kids, and I can continue to focus on taking care of our team and my family. The reason I'm sharing these texts is to outline the timeline of events because Much of what this shows directly contradicts the allegations made by Miss Reynolds. She was saying in the article that us going after her was retaliation for her threatening to spill the beans about an alleged cover-up. You guys can see with this that, number one, she already acknowledged why she was fired because she tried to get another employee to cover up for it. Number two, she did not start posting about any connections until she was informed that we filed a police report and that we were sending her a letter from our attorneys, essentially. And then she went and tried to make this connection. She has a history, which you guys are going to see, of creating opportunities to disparage other people. And we'll get into this with proof and with evidence. She has a history of lying. She has a history of embezzlement and theft. And we're going to get to all of this. But the reason I'm sharing these screenshots is because I want you guys to be able to see how the timeline actually occurred. And we have evidence of everything. We have evidence of my email to the attorneys the day before I actually fired her, which shows that 100% it was not retaliatory in any way, because she had received this email, or that I had emailed the attorneys prior to her even talking about anything or trying to make any allegations. On February 1st, I started auditing every financial account for the business. As you can imagine, we have thousands of charges that go through a month. It is a insanely time-taking process to go through this. And I'm not an accountant or a forensic accountant in any means, so this is a business owner going through this on his own. But I started with her American Express card. Quickly discovered that she was using it like a personal credit card. Tons of Amazon purchases were where she was buying Legos and shoes for her kids. Those Amazon purchases started in June of 2023. So for anyone thinks that her stealing was retaliation to us going after her legally or threatening her with something, that she started doing this in June. This is well before the Preston Lord incident even happened. This was well before any legal action from our side even happened. And her first purchase in June was a Star Wars Lego set for her kids on the company card through an Amazon account that she created. But she was using it for personal everything. Besides the Amazon purchases, she attached the card to her personal DoorDash account, was ordering for food for her and her kids frequently on the card. Obviously, we have receipts for that as well. She was using it for groceries and many unauthorized items as well. All of this stuff can be found in the court documents that we submitted as well, guys. On February 5th, I was notified that Ashley started posting on TikTok and on GoFundMe that she was asking for donations. And here's what's really interesting, and you guys will see this in the screenshot above, is she put on there that she was fired for missing too much time from work. Notice she didn't say anything about Preston Lord. She did not say anything about allegations on February 5th. She immediately said that she was posted for missing too much time. Her story has changed multiple times on why she was fired. Okay, but the text message evidence we presented already shows that she knows exactly why she was fired from the company. Later this day, so on the 5th, I decided to look up Ashley's previous employers and see if they had any similar instances with Ashley. Now, some of you guys might be asking, well, didn't you do your due diligence ahead of time and call her previous employers? So a couple of things I want to address with this is, number one, in her interview, she told us that her most recent employer went out of business. She told my COO and I that she showed up for work, the doors were closed, and that no one was at the office. Also, the phone numbers that she provided to my COO were fake phone numbers. People answered and gave her a glowing recommendation. Hindsight being 2020, I probably should have Googled and looked up the phone numbers directly, but we're pretty trusting for the most part. And in most cases, we trust you until you give us reasons not to trust you. So maybe I need to do better than that as a leader, and I'll take responsibility for that part. But the first employer that I called, who is another Arizona small business owner, had disclosed that Ashley took out a line of credit against their business to the tune of $15,000 and even bought a motorcycle with the line of credit. This employer also had an audio recording of Ashley admitting to taking out the line of credit. This employer is currently working with Phoenix Police Department and pursuing criminal charges against Miss Reynolds. There's going to be more to come on that as well. On February 6th, our internal investigation continued, and we discovered that Ms. Reynolds was creating fake invoices that were designed to look like Twilio charges. So in our agency, we use a vendor called Twilio. Twilio provides a text message service for all of our clients so that they can text and follow up with their leads. Now, the way this system works with Twilio is they charge us in $25 increments. So in any given month, we will have probably $300 to $525 charges coming out of our account. What Ms. Reynolds did is she created a fake email address to resemble Twilio. The email address is twiliosan@gmail.com. She then used this email address to create fake invoices that were attached to her personal PayPal account that she then paid these invoices through the business bank account. So she did this purposely because she knew how many transactions we had per month from Twilio and that it would be easy to hide in with the rest of those charges and would take longer for someone to figure it out. In December and January alone, she forged $8,839 in fake invoices that she paid to herself from the company, purposely making these look like Twilio invoices to hide them from myself and our accountant. The invoices are also in the court documents. We'll throw them up on the screen as well to show you guys an example of one or of two of these. We'll get to sort of, again, all this information. You can tell this is not an honest person. This is not a person that tells the truth. This is not a person that is in it for helping out other people. Like, the actions show that this is a person that is strictly into seizing opportunities to put themselves in a better advantage, and they don't care about what it does to other people. They don't care about what it does to those people's families. They don't care about what it does to those people's businesses. They are selfish and in it for themselves. February 6th, after talking to Ashley's previous employer, I decided to reach out to Robert Anglen at AZ Republic about Ashley. I chose Robert because he was the criminal investigator at AZ Republic. I thought he would be able to help prevent other small businesses in the area from being conned out of any money from Miss Reynolds. We were fortunate in the fact that while she stole like $30,000 to $40,000, and we're still figuring out what that total is exactly, but while she stole that from us, we were fortunate enough to be in a healthy enough spot to be able to overcome that initial amount that she stole, right? Not all businesses can overcome that. Not all businesses can deal with losing $40,000 and be able to recover from it. If she continues to do this to other businesses, like, I was hoping that Robert would protect small businesses in this community and make the decision to do that. And that's why I reached out to him. Unfortunately, that was not the case. I did not receive any immediate response from Robert Anglen. We will get into Robert's part of this whole story in the third section of this video. On February 13th, Ms. Reynolds was served with a lawsuit that is currently in progress. All right. Now, you have a general timeline. There's a few other things I'm going to add to this. The next thing is on February 29th. February 29th, I talked to and received a letter from yet another one of Ashley's former employers in Colorado this time. Here's what is disclosed in the letter. Again, I've redacted the name of the employer to help keep their privacy intact. So we will be blocking that out in the example that we're showing you online. And also, you will not hear me say their name or the company they're from in order to protect and respect their privacy as well. And all of this has been submitted to the court and the police as well. Here's what he said. I hired Ashley as an admin assistant in August of 2015 until July of 2019, when I terminated her for financial fraud against me and my company. I've attached a summary of what I discovered at the time, as well as some follow-up after she left. According to what I learned afterwards, she found employment at a bank in Redding, California, where she also got into some similar trouble with them, and then again in Arizona. I was also paid a visit from 2 FBI agents who said she was being investigated for fraud against some poor lady, and they wanted to search our computers for evidence. We allowed them access. She appears to have a track record of financial crimes. I hope that what I've sent you will help. So sad, though. We actually really cared about her and her family. If I can be of further assistance, just let me know. And here's the attached letter he put to this email. So what I just read was the body of the email that this person sent. Here is the letter that was attached, which we'll also put up on the screen. On July 19th, 2019, while reviewing my bank statement for my business checking account, I noticed charges totaling approximately $1,500 that I did not recognize nor could find invoices for. The following Monday, July 22nd, 2019, I did more research and found that Ashley Reynolds had used my company credit card and debit card to pay her personal bills. After further research, I discovered that she had also set up an Amazon.com account in my business name with my credit and debit card number and was using the account for her family's personal expenses. I tracked the Amazon account back 2 years and found charges totaling approximately $8,133.14. I immediately took action with my bank, closed my card, and all associated accounts she could have access to. I also terminated her employment. I am still considering legal action against her for identity theft and fraud. She used my business to purchase a Hulu subscription, start a Sensi business, which you can find on her Facebook page, myeline.com subscription, and to pay off her personal credit card debt. On Amazon, she purchased clothing for her family, TVs, HP laptops, commercial weed whacker, diapers, coffee pods for an Nespresso machine, countless toys for her children, party favors for her child's birthday, and furnishings for her home, rug, towels, etc. I am still reviewing my accounts, known and unknown, as I did not give her permission to use my personal business or my business account for her personal use, or to open up accounts in my name for her to use personally. I'm here to present the facts. We can see that besides embezzling from my company, there's been at least 2 other times that we have written evidence of from the owners of those companies that she has also conducted fraud and identity theft and embezzlement on multiple occasions. As you start to hear this, I hope you understand why I was shocked and surprised in the statement that my attorney has released. Because when you look at the credibility of the source of this article, I feel like all of this information should be relative, don't you? And we'll get into how this was presented to Robert Anglen and how he was made aware of this, but still went forward with the article. Credibility is huge for a source, especially when you have one source that has no physical evidence of anything. You would think you would look into that person's background to make sure that they don't have a history of lying, stealing, and cheating people out of money. Next, what I want to do is I want to go through some of the allegations in this article and show you guys some evidence against it. There are an endless amount of allegations in this article. Endless amount. For me to sit here and discuss every little allegation, this would be a 5-hour video. So we're going to discuss the main ones, especially the most important one, which is the allegation of covering up anything. So let's start with this first allegation. So in the article, Ms. Reynolds said that Adam and Travis forced her into participating in the covering up for Travis's son in the murder of Preston Lord. Again, this entire allegation is fabricated out of thin air. There's no physical evidence of anything she is saying. I also would say that there's no other testimony from anyone in our office to correspond with anything that she's saying happened. Here's what I want to say about this. Throughout this process, my businesses have been attacked nonstop, and my character has been attacked nonstop by many of these fake Facebook profiles online, even before this article came out. Obviously, this article 10x'd the amount of messages, comments, Facebook posts, emails, phone calls, and everything. But there was already fake accounts that were making allegations against anyone that had ever known Travis Renner. And in my opinion, they did it very irresponsibly. And there's a reason they did it from fake Facebook accounts, is because they wouldn't have to be held accountable for what they were posting. The reason I'm saying this is there's a fake account named Lily Waterfield. And for anyone that's local that's been following this entire story, you guys are familiar with this account. She posted an allegation on my page that she quickly deleted later. And let me see if I have the date for this on here. This was sometime in December. But we're going to put it up on the screen. But she posted this on my page. And again, she quickly deleted this afterwards in less than 24 hours. But she said, "This man is knowingly assisting with hiding and covering up for the families of the kids that murdered Preston Lord. He is a financial investor with Travis Renner, father of Talon Renner. Now, I saw this post for the first time because my wife sent it to me, and I was on a flight. And you guys know on-flight service is iffy. When I saw this, I sent it to Miss Reynolds, and I asked Miss Reynolds to screenshot it and then remove my name from the post so you can untag yourself from a post on Facebook. Her response of me saying this and seeing this allegation from Lily Reynolds, which you guys can see the screenshot of the conversation between Miss Reynolds and myself, was, WTF is wrong with this lady? Yes. Oh shit. Sorry, what a see you next Tuesday. Now, I didn't know why she said see you next Tuesday until she explained it to me when I saw her in person. She's essentially calling Lily Waterfield the C word. This lady needs to be served with a cease and desist letter. So why is this important to show you? We have someone accusing me of the exact same thing that Miss Reynolds accused me of in this article. And this was done in December. And her response was to call the person a C word and to suggest a cease and desist letter. If she was covering up anything this whole time, do you think she'd be calling someone that's saying the exact same allegation the C word and then suggesting a cease and desist letter be sent to this person? In addition to this, we have another conversation between Miss Reynolds and myself that we're going to put on the screen, where Miss Reynolds texted me to let me know that someone brought up my name in one of the threads on the Queen Creek Police Department Facebook page. In this instance, I asked Miss Reynolds to just send it to our attorney. Her response was, I can't wait, LOL. These people are idiots. If one jumped off a bridge, they would all follow. You can see that through this whole time, Miss Reynolds was chastising anyone accusing me of any association with the Preston Lord situation. And she did it repeatedly. These text messages completely contradict the entire basis of the AZ Republic article. If she was a part of this, or if she's saying that this was that this cover-up was a legit thing, why would she immediately go after someone that was trying to accuse me of the same thing? She was quick to insult the person and suggest legal action. And now she's making the same claims that she quickly defended multiple times because she's looking to take the focus off of her own wrongdoings and try and redirect it to the person that is in the most risk of exposing exactly who she really is. Allegation number 2. Miss Reynolds said in the article that she was constantly working in fear. And I think you can already tell from previous messages that she was not working in fear at all. Besides the rest of our office giving verbal testimony to me that they never saw her working in fear, I also have multiple messages that show the exact opposite. They show that Miss Reynolds loved her job. We have multiple messages from Miss Reynolds to different members on our team discussing how much she loves her job. One example is a message that she sent to myself and our COO on December 19th, stating, "Thank you for an incredible 8 months so far. I'm excited for what is to come in 2024 with you, Kels, and the Relentless team. Heart emoji. Please let me know if you need anything over the holiday. I'm always available." That's up on the screen. The next one we're also putting on the screen. This is a comment Miss Reynolds made in our company Slack channel, stating that I was the best CEO ever, also in December. It is easy to see that Miss Reynolds was never working in fear from all the messages that we've already shared, and I have a full team that has worked with Miss Reynolds that can attest to this. Allegation 3. Adam changed calendar entries to make it look like Mr. Renner was in Mexico. All right, we have text messages from a group thread on October 9th, well before the Preston Lord incident. In this group thread on October 9th, Mr. Renner discusses plans to go to Mexico on October 28th for 2 weeks. We also have a text message from me to Travis on October 31st, and again, we're putting all this up on the screen so you guys can see this. On October 31st, I sent Travis a text message wishing him a good trip in Mexico. These messages demonstrate that he was planning on going to Mexico all the time. I would say that if the police looked at passport records or if they looked at the border cameras, that they would most likely see Mr. Reynolds going to Mexico around this time. The messages clearly demonstrate that there's no reason to change any calendar entries because it had already been planned in advance for Mr. Renner to go to Mexico. I also want to note that one of Ms. Reynolds' primary job responsibilities, one of the most important parts of her job as my assistant, was protecting my calendar, which meant that the vast majority of calendar entries and changes to anything in my calendar was done by my executive assistant that managed my calendar, which in this case is Ashley Reynolds. Allegation 4, that I conspired with Mr. Renner to take Talon Renner to Sholo to let his hand heal. This is absolute nonsense. And here's the thing, guys. The first time that I ever found out that Travis was taking his son up north to Sholo was in a text message that you guys can see on screen from one of Travis's other business partners. And this was on November 2nd. He had texted me just saying that Travis and Talon went up north to decompress. Now, why did he send this to me? Because the previous day, or maybe 2 days before, we were on a phone call and I just asked him if he had heard anything from Travis because we hadn't heard from him. So that was him updating me that they went up north to decompress. At no time did I ever have any conversation saying that we should hide or cover up anything for his son. I've met his son in passing maybe 5 times. And why the hell would I jeopardize my kids, my life, my family to protect another kid that I've met 5 times? It makes zero sense. Continuing on with this conversation, my response to Mr. Renner's business partner saying that he's headed up north with Talon this morning to decompress was a thumbs up reaction, and then I immediately returned the conversation back to business. I knew nothing about any plans in advance for him to take Talon up north to hide or heal his hand or any of the above, and there is zero evidence to show anything other than what I just said. Allegation number 5, that we were trying to do a fire sale with the business and I never had any intention of losing Travis as my business partner. I'll say this again. I have zero business relationships or personal relationships with Mr. Renner or anyone in his family, and it will continue to be that way. When we went into this buyout, or when I started talking about the buyout, the conversations with my attorneys were straight through and focused on, we knew that this sale was going to be heavily scrutinized by both the legally and both publicly. We knew that going into it. And because we knew that going into it, I wanted to make sure that everything was done by the books. That if anyone was to look through the sale or to look at the communication between me and my attorneys about the sale, that everything would be done the correct way within the rules of how it should be done. So there was never any intention or discussion of having Travis Renner stay on the business in any way. And as of right now, he has nothing to do, zero to do with any of the businesses that I own. And I cannot be more straightforward about that. Now, in other allegations that Ms. Reynolds made online, not in this article, she also tried to say that we sold it for pennies on the dollar. That is not true. While Mr. Renner didn't have a majority ownership in any of the companies that I was partnered in with him, it still was a multiple 6-figure buyout. Hundreds of thousands of dollars to get him off the businesses. That is not pennies on the dollar. We used a third-party evaluation company to do an unbiased valuation of every single company. They submitted like a 64-page valuation for every single company, and all of our buyouts were in agreement with what was in those valuations. Business sales take time, and I understand that a lot of you guys in the public were very impatient, and I would have been too if I didn't understand the process, and we're wondering, well, why did it take so long? You have to understand, going into it from my perspective, we didn't even know that if Travis was going to be open to us buying him out of the businesses. We didn't know what that was going to look like. And in the same vein, this is the first time I've ever had to buy out a business partner. So this is a new experience for me. So you have my attorneys walking me through the process, talking me through it, and educating me on how it works, and then also making sure that we are protecting the sale of the business by doing everything the right way. And to this day, I still feel like we nailed it. Allegation 6, All right, Adam never addressed the case with the staff. All right, I have letters from multiple members on our team that show this was not the case, that we had a meeting with our team, and we have letters because we actually had a meeting with our team no matter what Miss Reynolds wants to try and say. The meeting was on December 22nd. It was run by myself and my COO, Kelly, and we met with our entire team to tell them about the buyout of Travis as we were getting close to it being finalized. And also, we wanted to be open and discuss what we knew about the situation with Travis and his son up to that point. The details that were shared with the team was the only information that I had at the time. We knew that Travis's son was at the party. It sounded like that he was involved in a fight and possibly threw a punch. We also knew that there were multiple fights that night of the party. And from the information we had, we did not have anything confirming at that time that he was directly part of the fight with Preston Lord. And again, this was December 22nd. This was the information we had at the time. In addition to that, we addressed with the team and said that we were honest. We didn't really know a lot about what happened with that night. We didn't know if his son was innocent or guilty with the allegations that were coming up online of him being involved in the murder. But the one thing we stood tall on was the fact that whether it was his son that is guilty of it or anyone involved that was guilty in it, that they deserve to be punished. They deserve to be in jail. They deserve to have any consequence that comes as a result of this, because it is a disgusting and abhorrent crime. And I can't even begin to imagine from the parent perspective what they've had to go through with all of this. I don't care if it was my best friend that did this. I don't care if it was someone that I know that did this. If it was my own kid that did this, they deserve the consequences that come along with it regardless. The meeting happened. We have proof that it happened from everyone that was at the meeting. So her trying to allege that we were trying to hide all of this stuff in our office. And if you've been to our office, we do not have a large office. Like, word gets around about everything in our office. And it's just how it is. We have a small family type team, and there's no hiding things ever in this business. Many more allegations and random statements in this article that are also completely untrue. Again, this would be a very long video. It already is a long video, but it'd be even longer if we did each one individually. I do want to end this part of addressing the allegations with this. Miss Reynolds alleges all these different conversations happened with her and Mr. Renner. Travis maybe came to our office once a week. If he did, it was Tuesdays at 1 o'clock. It was for our leadership meeting, which was between myself, him, and our COO. After that meeting, he would do his rounds. He'd say bye to everyone, and he would leave. He was not sitting there having long conversations with people, let alone Ashley. And if you want to know how much Ashley was involved in any conversations about just business in general with Travis and I, the screenshot on the screen is our entire text message history between the three of us. It is 2 text messages long. Travis and I never included Miss Reynolds in conversations about the business. And to be honest, there was multiple times that Travis wanted to fire Miss Reynolds because he didn't think that she was the best fit to be an executive assistant. The last thing I could ever see Mr. Renner do is confide in anything to Miss Reynolds. Let's also just address some of the dumb internet rumors that have been brought to my attention. First of all, there's a rumor going around that I trained these kids being accused in martial arts floating around the internet. Let me just say this. The only child that I've met, the only person I've met that's being accused is Talon Renner. And again, it was in passing, saying hi and bye, maybe a handful of times max. I've never trained any of these kids in martial arts. They've never trained in martial arts at any business that I own. And honestly, I feel like if they did train in martial arts, they would have not been in this situation to begin with. Because martial arts teaches you that it should only be used for self-defense. It should only be used when it's time to protect yourself or your family or your loved ones. Besides that, it's used for practicing or competition. If these kids were put in a good martial arts program at all, they would have learned how to be humble. They would have learned how to be respectful. They would have been in more control of their emotions and their behaviors. At no time did any of these kids learn martial arts in any of my businesses or from me, I want to put a rest to that rumor immediately. Okay, next, let's talk about Robert Anglen and AZ Republic. So this has been interesting. We have, sorry, this can be hard for me to talk about because this article has done so much unnecessary damage to so many people's lives. And I know it may sound like in this video I'm making this about me, but the stress that my employees have had to go through because of this article, the stress that my family's had to go to because of this article, people that work for me have been getting accused of things and harassed by people. And it's completely unnecessary. And my issue with Robert Anglen and AZ Republic is that they have zero physical evidence from Ashley of any of these things. Well, Adam, how do you know that? Because none of these things are true. Physical evidence cannot exist in a vacuum. None of these things are true. There's no physical evidence. So because there's no physical evidence of any cover-up, the next thing that you would ask is the source credible? And if you've been watching this video the whole time, I think you would look at it and say, well, this definitely is not a credible source. This is not someone that I would trust to be honest. This is not someone that has a track record of honesty based on what we've seen from her previous employers, and also some of the things we're going to see as we can continue to discuss this. The other part that I have a personal problem with is that Robert purposely withheld information in his article to sensationalize this story and really just create clickbait. And you can tell that Robert loves tooting his own horn because he went on a radio press tour, and we're going to address one of the lies he said in that radio press tour. And he's hoping to get awards for this, as you can tell by the post that he pins on his Twitter account. He's getting ego boost from this. And up until this, I thought he was a good reporter. I thought he was a respectable reporter. I don't believe that anymore. Because we gave them a chance. We sent them a letter to make things right with a lot of the evidence that we presented in this video. And they choose that it wasn't important for you guys, the readers, to know any of this, to see any of this. And instead, they attack a small business owner. And now I'm guessing a lot of other small business owners are also going to be affected in the future as they hire this person. And the same thing happens just like it has to the previous employers of hers. So let's talk about some of the things that Robert left out in his article. He shared some of the correspondence between my team and him, but he left out a pretty important email correspondence from Friday, February 23rd that we're going to put on the screen. So this is from me to Robert. So I said, "Good afternoon, Robert. Thank you for your time and follow-up questions. I believe you are an exceptional reporter." Again, this is before the article was published. "And I respect your dedication to pursuing the story and the truth. Due to the legal climate surrounding these issues, I'm unable to provide a detailed interview or response to your questions at this time. I also just want to mention, if you read through the questions, those questions were so biased if you're reading them. There was no intention in those questions to actually solve this or to actually find the truth. That was not the intention of those questions when you read them. In this email to him, I said, "I want to refer you back to my initial statement. The loss of Preston Lord has been a devastating blow to our entire community, making it incredibly challenging to articulate his death and the surrounding circumstances. While I appreciate your request for an interview regarding my previous business partnership with Travis Renner, the ongoing legal situation prevents me from providing a detailed interview currently, and I want to clarify that I have no connection to the allegations involving the Renner family. Furthermore, I urge you to conduct thorough due diligence on her, including contacting previous employers. I've attached the court documents related to my former executive assistant. Also, let me just mention the court documents have multiple screenshots in there, has an email response from Ashley admitting to opening the line of credit. It has all of the invoices, receipts, everything that shows her fraud and what she was doing. And he also acknowledges through a phone call with our PR representative as well that he had seen the court documents and read through them and he was familiar with them. So I pulled an excerpt from that court document. So without Relentless Media's permission, Ashley opened an Amazon business account under Relentless Media's name and credit. All items that Ashley ordered through the fraudulent Amazon account were delivered to her home address between September 2nd and 9th of 2023. Ashley ordered roughly $9,863.43 worth of personal items on her fraudulent account. It continues just to outline that. I'm not going to read the whole thing. You guys can feel free to look at it. We also would like to point out the filing order from the court, which can also be found in the attached documents, where we go to point out a court order that says the defendants and any parties acting in concert with the defendants from accessing the internet, World Wide Web, or digital media to post any information to the public related to or concerning Relentless Media, Mr. Kifer, or myself. Obviously, that got egregiously broken with the article, but that's in the past. Okay, then I'm also going to address a few other things that AZ Republic and Robert wanted to ignore. This is all coming from a demand letter that we sent them a couple weeks ago, which they chose not to make any corrections based on all of the evidence that are presented that I'm also presenting in this video. For some reason, they don't think that any of this was important for their audience to know before being able to make a decision for themselves if they should trust this source or not. I don't think that does the public any service. So let's start with this excerpt from this letter. In an interview on February 29th, 2024, you indicated that you would not have known about or spoken to Ms. Reynolds if Adam hadn't reached out to you on February 6, 2024. And the mere fact that Adam reached out to you about investigating Ms. Reynolds led you to believe that this was part of a campaign to silence her. So this interview is referenced from a KTAR radio interview that Robert Anglen did.
Had it not been for that email that was saying, hey, you should look into my former executive assistant who was defrauding my company, would you have eventually come around to looking for her? Was she on your list of people I should contact? Or did this really just all of a sudden, now this is a name I know?
It was not on my radar. I suspect I would have eventually come to it.
Yeah.
But I got to say, I've been doing this 30 years.
Yeah.
I've never had anyone try to co-opt me like that. This is, and to hear Ashley Reynolds say it, this is part of a campaign to silence her. They don't want her talking about what she knows.
But did you talk to your bosses before you went out there? I mean, you got this email, and we all have somebody we answer to. Did you just say, I'm going to follow up on this, or did you go to the boss's room and go, you're not going to believe this?
It was kind of a combination of both. There was a lot of disbelief. I mean,
like,
especially when we were putting it together, once having talked to Ashley, then going back to the email and reading it and going, holy
moly.
In which he said he would have had no idea who Miss Reynolds was if I hadn't reached out to him through the email on February 6th first. He also says that he believed it was part of a campaign to silence her. He also indicated that her name was coming up in the community and on TikTok. So in other words, he knew that after Ms. Reynolds was terminated for engaging in fraudulent conduct, she started a retaliation campaign against Adam and his business, hence the TikTok posts. However, it didn't occur to him that I was attempting to preemptively protect my business by reaching out to him. Now, in addition to this, we have an email from Ms. Reynolds to Mr. Robert Anglen on February 22nd, 2024, where he forwarded my initial email from February 6th and stated this to Ms. Reynolds. It turns out Kifer tried to engage me to do an investigation about you on February 6th. Let's just focus on that statement. It turns out Kifer tried to engage me to do an investigation about you on February 6th. He didn't even remember or know that I had emailed him on February 6th, which shows that he did not find out about Ashley Reynolds from me. He was already talking to Ashley Reynolds well before he even realized that I emailed him. He continues to say, I remembered reading it while working on a letter to his PR rep today. This indicates that Mr. Anglen was speaking to Ms. Reynolds before I had reached out to him. And if that weren't the case, his email wouldn't make any sense. He would already have discussed my initial email with Ms. Reynolds if he had remembered it. The other interesting thing is that email that I had previously read that I had sent to Mr. Anglen, so that February 6th email telling him to look into Ms. Reynolds, At the bottom of that email, I included my personal cell phone number for him to reach out to, which he never once called that phone number. Here's the reason I'm saying this. Okay, so that number was included on the bottom of the email I sent him on February 6th. Curiously, however, on February 14th, instead of calling me on my cell phone, Mr. Anglen called my wife's cell phone number, which was not listed anywhere in any correspondence to Mr. Anglen. And also in the voicemail that he left on my wife's phone, he only asked about my relationship with Travis Renner and never once mentioned Miss Reynolds, which again shows that he didn't even remember the February 6th email. He was calling my wife's cell phone number, which was most likely, and I can't prove this, which was most likely given to him by Miss Reynolds, and left a voicemail that had no reference to the email I sent him on February 6th about Ashley embezzling from myself and other companies, which means there's no way that he can honestly say that the only reason he heard about Ashley Reynolds was because of me. He had already been talking to her before he even realized that I had emailed him. He didn't call the number at the bottom of the email that I sent him on February 6th. He instead called my wife's cell phone number, which was listed nowhere in that email. And then the voicemail he left had nothing to do with me emailing him about Ashley. It was just asking about the business relationship with Travis Renner. He straight out lied in his interview so that he could continue to sensationalize this story and continue to paint a narrative that would favor him as a reporter and try and add false credibility to his article. To me, it just blows my mind because this whole time he knew about the lack of credibility this person had. And then he goes on the radio to lie and the only reason I could think that he would lie about this is to try and strengthen his story, to try and strengthen the narrative he's trying to put out there into the world. We're going to continue this. The title of your second article, because he did a follow-up, CEO deflects questions on alleged Preston Lord beating cover-up, lashes out at ex-employee, speaks volumes. In this, my attorney says, my client is a victim. He was victimized by Miss Reynolds. Then he was further victimized by you and the AZ Republic. Apparently, however, wasn't enough. So he continued to stand tall on the allegations that were being made. And then the interesting thing is he had already been emailed up until this point by us, telling him to look into her history, sending him the court documents that shows a lot of fraudulent activity. But better yet, the day the article came out, one of Miss Reynolds' previous employers sent an email to Robert. And we're going to put that email on the screen and we're going to read it out. I'm going to pull it up on my phone just so I can see it better because my eyes are getting terrible. All right, I'm going to zoom in for a second so I can see. But we're going to share this so you guys have it as well. Again, we are blocking out the names of the company of the person that sent this from and also the name of this person to protect their privacy. So this is the letter that one of Ashley's previous employers sent to Robert Anglen and AZ Republic the day the article came out on the 27th of February. Hi, Robert and Elena. I am the owner of blank. Again, we're redacting certain information to protect people's privacy. I'm reaching out to you because we became aware of your investigative report based on Ashley Reynolds' statements purely by chance through an employee of ours who is a native of Gilbert. We want to inform you that Ashley Reynolds has a background of committing financial fraud against businesses and lying about her background and her circumstances for financial gain. You would think anyone that received an email that said that would pause, do their due diligence, and look into this. Or at least when they would update the article, this might be something important to include. Ashley worked from our company from December 2022 through April 2023. During her time here, she opened a business Amazon account in my company's name with a line of credit without my knowledge or approval. She proceeded to max out the line of credit of $12,000 with 100% personal purchases, did not make any payments on the account, leaving our company responsible for the balance. She also charged personal items to the company Amex account. We have filed a police report with the City of Phoenix and are pursuing prosecution. We would be happy to put you in contact with the detectives on the case. In addition, we have also found numerous GoFundMe accounts Ashley started with conflicting information about raising money for her sick mother, who she had told us passed away, as well as funds for multiple unique names of her husband with conflicting names and dates, as well as pictures conflicting with the husband we met when she worked here. She lived in Scottsdale very recently, but touts herself to be a Gilbert local as if she's been a longtime resident. If you Google her name with the term GoFundMe, a whole list comes up, which this person puts the link to the list there. Here's her most recent one now. In bold, you should be aware that this person is absolutely not credible, and I certainly would not want her to be a star witness in my article or case. About 1 month ago, I was contacted by Adam at Relentless Media inquiring about her time at this company. And I was not surprised to hear she committed the same financial fraud against this company that she did against our company. When she applied for the position at Relentless Media, she lied about her time at the accounting company and said we were out of business and supplied a fake number. I would expect that many of the statements she made to you are also false. How much background did you check on Ashley Reynolds? I think if you take a few minutes, you will find substantial, questionable, and conflicting information. We thought you should know. Please let us know if you'd like to discuss further. You are welcome to call my cell number in the signature below. And what's interesting is in the letter we received back from AZ Republic, where they said they're going to stand tall, they mentioned that they were aware of the previous employers and still chose to stand tall on their article. I don't know how you get so many red flags that come up, but still pursue this article that has zero physical evidence. And the interesting thing is they want to sit on the idea that the Queen Creek Police Department corroborated information. But here's the thing. The quote from the Queen Creek Police Chief doesn't say anything about corroborating anything to do with me being involved with this case. It was a very generic statement that they want to stand on a hill on and defend. And when you have this much information that shows this is not a trustworthy person, in the case of Miss Reynolds, that she has a history of taking advantage of people for personal gain, and she has no physical evidence that shows that there's any cover-up of anything in existence, you ignore all of that and still move forward with the article? I don't believe that finding the truth about a criminal investigation is the main focus at all with these articles. I've lost faith in that, because if it was, these reporters would have actually looked into criminal behavior. They're criminal investigators. They would have looked into criminal behavior and done their due diligence, which I don't believe they've done. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything else on here. I think that's all I really have to say in terms of that article. The other thing I do want to mention is on AZ Central's own Facebook post of this article, they had yet another person come out to talk about Miss Reynolds. We'll put these screenshots on the screen as well. These are comments on the article. This person says, "This is crazy. This woman was fired from my current employer for embezzlement and credit card fraud before she apparently went and did it again. She gave the employer a fake number and said we had gone out of business. Kind of smells like retaliation for being fired. I can't believe now multiple police reports and they've done nothing yet. My employer contacted this journalist to inform them that they've yet to respond." I don't know what more we can give to show that this article should not have come out in the first place, that the source that they used for this article should not even been seen as a credible source. And my only goal with this is to tell you guys the truth and to share the truth with you and to get our narrative out there, since we haven't been able to up until this point. And I just pray that you guys open your hearts, and I pray that you listened to this with an open mind coming into it. And the only connection I have with any of this, and I want to state this, is that I was a business partner of Travis Renner for the last 3.5 years. And that is it. Besides that, there's no connection to anything to do with the Preston Lord case. And I will say this 100 times over again until I'm blue in the face. What you read in that article was completely fabricated. It was unjust. It was unfair. And it was lies. And there should have been more due diligence done to ensure that this was going to be accurate. And it just wasn't. And I'm disappointed in AZ Republic. I'm disappointed in Robert Anglen. Professional reporters should seek the truth, not seek to fulfill a narrative that they want to get out there so that they can sensationalize a story to get clicks and to get awards. Last thing I want to say, just thank you all for your time and support. There's so many of you guys that have been reaching out to me with messages telling me to stay strong, with messages saying that you know who I am in my heart as a person, and that you believe me, that you don't believe the bullcrap that you read online. There were days that I really needed those messages. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to send those. And I want to encourage you guys, if you believe in fairness, if you believe in truth, I encourage you to share this video, put it out there. This whole situation has completely changed my narrative and perspective on the media, on the legal system, on a lot of this. And I hope that if you believe in fairness and truth, you're going to share this with the world. And we need your help to get the truth out there. And if at the very least to prevent other small businesses from being harmed, whether it's from employees that steal from them or whether it's through media that wants to do false reports and false articles. Stay informed, stay skeptical, and above all, stay relentless and pursue the truth. Thank you again for taking the time to watch this. And we're going to continue pushing forward and moving forward like we always have. It's time to show the world what the word relentless means. Thank you.